Thanks for joining me for another episode of the We Are Change talk show. It's Wednesday, the 30th of May. We're going to be discussing false flags and work for the Dole schemes. So, to get started, we'll cross to Rob Deutsch in Turkey. There's a new shooting, Santa Fe, and everybody's saying no, there's no validity in that.
Well, you got validity and you got, what do we make valid? When is a false flag not real? They could kill real people like the USS Liberty to get us into Vietnam, but it's still, I like to call them a staged event.
Exactly.
When you
David Hogg and what's been going on with him, there's two different accounts of what happened. First, he said he was inside a classroom. He was locked in there. He could hear gunshots. He said it wasn't a drill. And then on the second account, he says he was at home. He heard there was a shooting, and he jumped on his push bike and rode down with his video camera to do as many interviews as he could. So, which testimony is true and correct? I mean, that's conflicting statements in a very serious matter. Trying to decipher the truth is becoming very difficult.
Yeah, when mainstream media is owned by very few people, they will control the information that goes out.
The old Latin statement, Novus Ordo Seclorum, New World Order, and what they want is order out of chaos.
Yes.
Someone offered $100,000 to anyone that can prove that these shootings are actually real and they're not staged. Because, people are convinced that it's a hoax, even the church shooting that took place, and nobody stepped forward to claim that $100,000.
Well, then they tear the schools and the buildings down that these events occur in, so we can't walk through it.
These interviews with David Hogg, it looks like he's being coached off camera.
People pushing for no guns, and how many people do they got around them with guns?
It's
and they
crisis
don't say
actors, isn't it? They put out a call for... I've even seen a website called Crisis Solutions, where they're actually hiring crisis actors. And there was multiple roles that were available. Victim roles, hero roles, and a media liaison role. And everyone would regroup and debrief after this hoax.
You'll see a police sergeant in this one, be a rescue worker in that one, and be running, or you got the guy with the stumps that had lost his legs in the Gulf War being wheeled out in a wheelchair. They ain't no blood. He ain't passed out. He'd have died before they brought him up the street with that much blood loss.
Exactly.
The logic has gone out the window, and it teach you not to read. Everybody does not want war. Everybody does not want to fight their neighbor. Matter of fact, as you go through neighborhoods, you'll quite often see there's some wonderful, especially this little village I'm in. Everybody's very for each other, and they watch each other, and it's really nice to see. And these are the things I look for. On some of the wonderful communities I went in Australia, the people are just for each other. But when you say you're anti this, you know what? That's just a motive language. I'm not anti anything. I'm pro not being killed.
That's right.
I'm
exactly.
pro honesty.
Yeah,
I'm pro truth.
Very well said.
And I'm anti liar.
Exactly.
I'm anti control method of all sorts. Flat earth, round earth, what the shape of the planet is. It's in dire shape. It needs all our help. And 11's usually the one that wakes people up.
That's what a lot of people...
Once you see the liar...
People start with that, don't they? They start looking into that, the controlled demolition, Building 7. And what got me, it was an actual university that did the studies, and they said, that appears to be a controlled demolition. It's going at free fall speed into its same footprint. But it's strange, they needed university scholars and graduates to tell them that. They couldn't make their own opinion up. That's how the hypnosis, that's the level of where it's at. They need somebody else with a university degree to tell them because they can't formulate their own opinion. To point out a culprit, a lot of people say it was criminal elements behind the Bush administration, the same groups that organised and orchestrated false flags such as the Gulf of Tonkin, Operation Northwoods, and Operation Gladio, as well as links to Israel. Would you concur with that analysis, Rob?
Well, I call it the shadow government.
Yes.
When you got a guy in this world or a family that's holds 600 trillion on paper, more than any other budget in the world, what could possibly go wrong? You buy your justice. It's do as I say or you're out. You pray into Moloch over there in the grove. Well, maybe I'll just call these the Molochers. We're getting away with too much and need to be locked up.
There was two opinions that had the most weight. One, it was CGI, the fake planes flying into the building, and the second theory was a controlled demolition. You believe it was done using CGI, do you, Rob?
I'm going to go even better than that. There was many methods to pull this illusion off. I got to point out, I definitely see box columns being cut with plasma torches. I seen typical Hollywood, petrol explosion looking thing. Now, let's say I ran maybe 1,500 CIA agents and FBI around and told them all, and you hear this explosion, you point up and go, oh my God, a plane just hit. If you're standing next to that person, what will you see? Would you go home that night and say you didn't see a plane? You want to be part of the big story, feel important at the dinner table, you were there.
And what about the Pentagon? There was gas stations and service stations in the area, and they went and they took the CCTV footage and confiscated that. So nobody had any proof of evidence because it wasn't a plane. A lot of people are saying it was a missile that hit the Pentagon.
Yeah, and they were asking people, if you have any films, can you please turn them into us so we can analyze them? Maybe there's a suspect. They never get their films back.
So every time I chat with you, you're always jet-setting around the globe. Right now you're in Turkey. What other destinations have you got in mind?
Africa. I want to talk with them in there. I got offered to go into Senegal and a couple other countries there, and I want to talk to them. For to get it because of this work, offer for a poetry book. That was my life dream. So I chased it. That's why I'm in Turkey. I'm working on a book.
Wow.
And I try not to do my work, but I can't not be me.
It's a wonderful experience to be able to travel the globe and a lot of cultures.
So I hear.
Yeah, but the sad thing is, it seems like no matter what country you go to, a lot of people are victims of the same tyrannical system that is enslaving us all. Well, thank you very much for your time, Rob, and we'll look forward to having you on the show again. Well done.
Yeah.
Here we go, outside Carcassoulas Donut Corner. Jeff?
We're here at the centre of the phony fake crisis that was staged by the mainstream media trying to push their official narrative. It's an absolutely outrageous staged event and it needs to be exposed.
Spot on, mate. Spot on.
Okay, next on the line we have Tina, who would like to discuss the Work for the Dole scheme. When there's people living in high unemployment areas, it makes it so difficult for them to gain employment, and after a certain period of time they're placed on a Work for the Dole scheme, which is basically going to allocate a lot of their time to a slave labour position.
Yes.
And that's not going to help them gain employment, hand in resumes, canvass the neighbourhood and look for work.
When you look at the type of jobs they're given.
That's exactly right. Very menial tasks.
Exactly. That require no skill and it gains them new skills. And it's just for those businesses to get free labour.
Exactly right.
If you need somebody to do those jobs, well then you go hire somebody to do those jobs.
Exactly right. And you see, I've seen a lot of charities taking advantage of this scheme. Not only are they getting furniture and goods donated, they're getting a lot of their labour for free through Work for the Dole initiatives. And then they run warehouses where they sell this furniture. So basically they're getting free labour, free goods. They're making incredible profits. And people are being victimised and they're suffering as a result.
Yes.
And it's basically targeting the people that are essentially struggling the most. Now, it's counterproductive. It's not logical to introduce such a scheme. And there's been reports of people after a certain period, they've been struck off payments because they were not able to reach the targets that they were given. Certain criteria wasn't met. They've ended up homeless. They've ended up in prison as a result of severe poverty. They've lost control of their income.
And the issue too with the job network agencies these days, they're no longer there to help you find employment. They're there to enforce the mutual obligations part.
Exactly.
They're just to police you and to make sure that you get breached as much as you can.
You are spot on.
Government money and to make themselves money.
Absolutely.
They don't do any work whatsoever in identifying jobs for you or linking you in with employers.
No, that's right. Many job seekers.
It's just a policing thing now.
You're 100% right on the money. A lot of job seekers will even say that they get the overall impression that the system is designed to keep the welfare providers, the job providers, keep them in employment, and the people that are unemployed, keep them out of a job.
We had people that get a few hours part-time work or a few hours casual work here and there. They're still with their job network providers. They ring them up and say they can't come in to their appointment tomorrow because they've got a few hours work and they'll need to go, well, obviously to work.
Yeah.
And they get told that, no, you can't do that. We're not going to change your appointment for you. You either turn up or you'll be breached. So they've been made to give up work.
Yes.
Come in
It's
for a 5-minute check-in to say, yep, I'm here, I've attended my appointment, tick the box, and off you can go. And if they don't do that, then they get breached.
It's very counterproductive, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I've heard of job seekers that have been struck off payments by their employment provider, and they've had to put all their belongings in a shopping trolley and wheel it into the employment agency, and they've looked their consultant in the eye and they've actually said, this is the predicament that you put me in when you struck me off payments. And I've heard the actual consultants, it really hit home that they're affecting and destroying people's lives by that click of that button, by signing that away, by taking someone's payment away. You're effectively ruining their life and destroying their livelihood.
And people have been breached because they have been admitted to hospital.
Exactly.
And unable to attend appointments. And they've been breached. And then they're told, oh, well, you'll have to go in and sort it out with Centrelink later. Well, you're in hospital. I can't go and sort anything out with Centrelink. And then they can't pay their rent for that week. Rents and bills still happen even while you're in hospital.
Exactly right.
Food while you're in hospital, but your landlord's not going to wait until you can get out of hospital and get your so-called breaching sorted, and weeks later maybe get back paid the money or whatever, or you might not.
Do you think your obligations would cease or at least be suspended temporarily so you can address your health concerns? No, life doesn't stop just because you're unwell, just because you have medical issues. You're still forced to reach the same targets as the next person.
Exactly.
I've known of people that have been put on an 8-week suspension of payment, and within that 8 weeks their life had changed significantly from living in a happy household with a partner to having relationship breakdowns, having their accommodation terminated, and at the end of the 8 weeks, it's a wonder that they're still alive. Life can change drastically.
People with mental health illnesses, or psychiatric illnesses especially, they cannot deal with this kind of stress, with those kind of situations. They're just surviving as it is. And these are the kind of things that push them over the line. They get breached, they become homeless, they're out on the streets. What are the latest figures at the moment? Was it something around 200,000 or whatever it was homeless in Australia now?
Yeah.
Figures have skyrocketed over the last few years.
That's right, and they've even changed the term from homeless to rough sleepers, as if they've got some sort of choice in the matter, which is far from it. You know, that's right. It's like warfare on the poverty-stricken. And if you actually look at it, You find the majority of people are only living week to week. You know, they haven't got large saving accounts flush with money. Most people are just trying to survive. And if you take
surviving from payment to payment.
Exactly.
When unexpected happens, that's it.
Exactly. And if you take one or two payments away, you can watch their whole life collapse.
Yes, absolutely.
And the government is well aware of this. That's why they're targeting these people in such a manner.
Yes, there's no concern or compassion whatsoever.
No, that's
I
right.
would say that there's no understanding because you know what? They know damn well what's happening, but they don't care one little bit. It's all part of their agenda.
Exactly. And you know what they say, follow the money trail too. How many politicians have got investments in this Indu card, in this cashless welfare card, with the corporation that's distributing the cards? How many of them have got private stocks and investments in that company?
Who knows?
Exactly. How many have investments in the prison industrial complex, and they know when they target a few low-income areas, the crime rate will be on the rise, and they're going to get a profit, and their stock price will go up. See, they factor all of this in. A lot of it is a monetary motivation as well.
It is, because and you look at Centrelink itself, they got rid of thousands of staff, ran it into the ground, not coping, not working. What was it, 50 million missed phone calls.
Yep.
And then they get in an American company to do evaluations about, what's the problem, what can we do to fix it? And they come up with a solution. Hire 1,000 more call center staff. We'll get private company Serco to do that.
That's right. That's exactly who they did get it.
Here we go.
You are very well informed.
Run into the ground, destroyed, and then privatized out. Same as what happens with electricity.
Yeah, and you know,
privatization never ever works out well for ordinary people.
Exactly.
Never.
And I've heard of welfare recipients waiting on hold for even longer than 2 hours, waiting for an operator to take their call so they can have their payments restored. And
you know what happens then? Then they say they can't help you, but they'll put you through to somebody who can, and then the call drops out and you can start.
That's exactly what I was about to say, Tina. You finished my sentence. I've heard of that. They said as soon as they picked up, that's right, the call time limit reached, and as soon as they start to get the person, they reach the right agency, the call is terminated. They reach the right department that they were after and waiting on hold for 2 hours, and then the call is terminated, Tina. You know, and you can imagine how frustrated. It's like you're already at the bottom of the barrel of society. You're trying to claw your way up, and for that, it's just.
And to try and work out that MyGov site.
That's right.
Anything via internet, it's nearly impossible.
They've made it.
Vulnerable people have difficulties with that and can't work it out, or elderly people, or people
Exactly.
with disabilities, or mental health illnesses, or anything like that. They don't have a hope in hell of negotiating the system.
Exactly. And what about the rigmarole when somebody does want to report their weekly income, they want to put their form in, they have to have a username and then a password, and then they have to have another code sent to their mobile, and then they have to have their mobile on them to have that code ready, and then they have to put that into their MyGov. I mean, that's quite a process to have these codes, passwords, numbers.
Absolutely is.
I think they design it that way.
That means that you obviously have to have the money to have phone and internet.
Exactly.
As well, in order to be able to do those kind of things.
They just like to make it as difficult as possible.
Yes.
In hope that people will be deterred. And, you know, that's not the way to set it up.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, the society should be structured to where it looks after the people that are the most vulnerable and doesn't push them aside and treat them as less than human.
It used to be like that. It used to be where we would look after our battlers.
That's right.
If somebody struggled, that everybody would be the first to lend a helping hand. Now, that's gone.
Yeah.
It's like anybody who's struggling, the general population is made to turn against them and kick them further down and blame them, and that's your own bloody fault. Pull yourself up.
Exactly. That sort of attitude is causing social and economic harm. That's very well said. And people are discriminated against. You know, that's not the way it should be structured. And I find that putrid, that people would be shunned like that from society. And, you know, small to medium business owners rejecting the cashless card, turning people away like they're peasants.
Yes. We had one situation where, now I think that might have been the basics card, which is a bit different.
Yeah.
But an older gentleman walked in and wanted to buy a little box of chocolates. I think it was his wife's somebody's birthday. And he was turned down for it. He was told, no, this is for essentials only.
Yeah, shocking. That's appalling.
The judgments that people are making out there.
You can wonder why.
It's just, the mind just boggles.
That's right.
Some kind of second-class citizen. And that shopkeeper could tell him what he shouldn't or shouldn't spend his payment on. As if you're a taxpayer, that's your money. Well, it's not your money. It's money that we're all paying for, so that we all have that safety net available.
That's right. Someone was trying to investigate just how many people have been pushed onto these cashless cards, pushed into work for the Dole schemes, ultimately had their payments terminated, and within a 6-month period, a lot of people had committed suicide. They wanted the actual statistics on that, and Centrelink, they're obligated to provide information like that, statistics and a census on just how many people have been devastated, how many people have ended up in prison just shortly after they've been placed on that card.
Yes, I know there have been, but I'm not aware myself of the numbers, and I know that there have been a number of suicides. Again, I'm not aware of the numbers.
I'd like to look into that, do a follow-up update. I'd like to do an update on this story and actually present those numbers.
Yes, to see if we can track down the links for where where that research was done.
Yeah, because that's important too.
Examples of that.
Exactly. Are you confident that this welfare card will be abolished? People will have their payments restored and life will go back to normal?
No, I'm not.
No.
No way that's going to happen.
Neither.
If ordinary people in Australia stand up and say, no, this is not okay.
That's right.
This is fascist.
That's exactly.
It's not a fascism in Australia. This is about taking basic rights away from the vulnerable section of Australian societies. It's about demonising a section of our society.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And they want to make it where it's compulsory for all Centrelink pensioners too.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
In the areas where it's operating.
It is compulsory in those areas.
Anybody under age 65 on any kind of social security benefit, no matter what your circumstances. You could have worked as a professional for the last 40, 50 years, become redundant or ill or whatever, and now, well, you're obviously incapable of managing your own income, you're a bludger, you're a drug addict, you're alcoholic, you're whatever, you're nothing, and now you can get that card.
That's right, and then you're judged and shunned by your society after all the labour and everything that you've put towards your country.
Yeah.
That's right.
And all the workers out there, you might be fine today. It only takes one accident in the workforce, and there you go. You're on that card.
That's all right. That's exactly right. And I've got I don't have much confidence either that we're going to be able to defeat this scheme. It's going to start to be rolled out everywhere in a widespread manner. I'm glad.
Yes.
That's why I'm glad we got you on the show, Tina, as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really have to expose
I
this.
found this whole thing extremely distressing.
Yeah.
I've worked as a professional myself for over 20 years in various human services.
Yep.
And managing different things. I worked as a clinician.
Yep.
I got sick. On a disability support pension now.
Yep.
And now suddenly I'm considered incompetent and incapable of managing my own finances.
Which is far from the truth and the reality.
That is not okay.
No.
And I will fight this, and I'll fight this, and I'll fight this.
And you're doing exactly that. And one way of fighting it is phoning through here on the We Are Change hotline. If any of the listeners out there have been placed on a cashless debit card system, a cashless welfare card, and they're having their life substantially affected, we'd love to hear about that here at We Are Change. Phone through on the hotline and please share your story with us. We need to create as much attention as we can and draw it to this story. Thank you
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tina. You've done an incredible job, and hopefully we can get some changes made and people's payments will be restored.
Yes, I certainly hope so.
Well, that's the end of another episode of the We Are Change talk show. Once again, thanks for joining me. We'll take you out with some clips showcasing hostile architecture being implemented across cities. Be sure to like, share and subscribe, and tune in to the We Are Change talk show next week, where we expose corruption one episode at a time. A lot of viewers are outraged by this hostile architecture being installed across cities. Spikes prevent anyone from taking a seat on these stairs. We are starting to see boulders appearing all over Melbourne. Pavilions that cannot provide shelter, but can certainly provide surveillance. Is this what architects have been studying? How to make our lives more miserable? In much the same way, spikes are being used to deter birds. Is this the way homeless are viewed, as pests? Instead of dealing with the problem of homelessness, governments would prefer the poverty to be unseen. Are you tired of hearing lies and fake news on mainstream media? Do you find it insulting to your intelligence? Well, look no further. The We Are Change talk show is here. President Trump has launched airstrikes on Syria. A lot of his prominent conservative supporters have turned against him after this action. Have you suffered human rights violations or been a victim of corruption? The We Are Change talk show would like to hear about it. Phone the number on your screen today.
Who the hell's going to listen to a little guy? You guys are, thanks.
Yes, it's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And what I hope is they don't put a mother and a child in that house, because that child will die. And no one seems to believe me.
Once again, much love to everybody at We Are Change, and I look forward to seeing you guys at more events in the future and working more closely with you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for the call, my friend, and all the best of luck moving into the future.
Much appreciated.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. You know, the legendary Jeff.
Without the instrument of We Are Change, we will not have a future. We will not have a country or world to leave to our children. We won't have children able to function in it. So be a part of it. Join it.
We Are Change Melbourne gives those who mainstream media have ignored a voice, exposing corruption, injustice, human rights issues, and much more. We Are Change Melbourne is the voice of the people.
Yeah, this is Jeff. Met Jeff for the first time I'd met Jeff. He too is a lovely chap, and he has a YouTube channel called We Are Change Melbourne. So if any of these topics pique your interest, pop over to We Are Change Melbourne and say good day to Jeff. You've seen that video that's just going past the interview, Enough is Enough. watch that one.
Phone the number on your screen and be connected with the We Are Change talk show.